Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, bodies of water, to the Alchemist's Toolkit, where we don't play any RPG games and we talk about them instead. My name's Lee, still Lee.
My name's Carl, still Carl.
We're in the same room together.
I know, it's tripping me out. I'm Matt, and I would also be in the same room, but COVID has happened in my general vicinity and potentially actually in me. So
yeah,
I thought
Matt can't come sit with us anymore. Mean Girls reference. What a weird way to have a Mean Girls reference in a podcast.
Yeah.
And I just kicked a chair.
because you're so mad about COVID.
Yeah.
And Mean Girls references.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, yes, it's nice to see you, Carl. As well. You missed the interview we did with Bonsart.
That was good fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Why?
Yeah.
Why was that?
Well, and I'm a tiny human, so kind of preoccupied by that.
There's a smaller human, yeah,
Yes.
and in about sort of, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 or 13 years, he can join the campaign.
Yep.
If it's still going.
And maybe he can buy the first edition of Alchemy when it finally comes out. He can get it on launch day, yeah.
It will happen one day, ladies and gentlemen. It will happen.
Oh, right.
Well, we have another interview lined up, and that's again spurred me on to be like, fuck, I need to get this done. I need to get this done.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, that'll come very soon. Interview with Matthew Arthur will come very, very soon. But today, what are we talking about, Lee?
We're talking about reasons why people leave games. And as a side note, what we can also talk about is what happens to the DM after people leave games. They start to make their own RPG system, and then 10 years later, they're still making it. They're still making it.
It has become your white whale, hasn't it?
It has. It's just me. I'm the white whale. I'm just a big, fat whale.
You are your own white whale.
Just a whale. Just a game whale. Not even like the good whales. Not like a crypto whale. I'm not a crypto whale. I'm just a bitch whale. This Taliska's made me salty.
Yeah. The whiskey's taking me back.
Back in my day, it was easier to make games.
In your day was 10 years ago, which was when you started trying to make this.
Which was when it was the hardest to make the game as well. I'm just, you know what? I'm not gonna make a sci-fi and D&D system.
I'll just throw them together.
I'll just make my own one by the time that comes back. No.
Just with hookers.
Well,
Honestly,
I mean, pray it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
And we can help you make it not come to that.
Yes.
with what we talk about today.
We'll cover that in a separate episode, I think.
That's a separate thing.
Basically going to be my first question to our next guest. Why on earth did you start that?
And how did you complete
That's
it?
madness.
How did you come to complete it?
Why did you put yourself through this? Mad.
Oh, well, there's like a million reasons maybe why people might leave a game of D&D or other system. We decided to structure this a little bit, so we're going to go chronologically within like lengths of time. So we're going like prior to the first session maybe, and maybe after a session or two, then like after a month, and then after a year.
Sounds good.
Yep.
And we're assuming no like glazed donut incidents.
Yeah.
We're assuming like normal stuff.
We're assuming standard campaign. Nothing horrific has happened to put.
Nothing horrific.
Just
Yeah.
General campaign fatigue.
And just nothing horrific in general.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at every one of those stages, obviously, people can drop out for.
Horrific things.
I was going to say
yeah.
no good reason.
Yeah.
But like an actual good reason.
Yeah.
I must say, I'm gonna throw myself into the fire to start with. It would come later on the chronology, but I made a dick move in a campaign once. I was playing it's a cyberpunk one. It was quite fun. Cyberpunk's quite a good RPG system to run. I think more for the setting than the actual
mechanics.
The mechanics of it. It's quite crunchy, quite heavy. Like you need a bit of
It's very stat blocky thing.
Training to understand and look for your stuff quite easily. This was done online, so the DM spent a lot of time making sort of like an Excel spreadsheet where you could put all your stuff in. Like they were all really good. They were like a good group of guys. They were all from the States. It was a bit of a odd time for me because stateside, I think you've probably seen that with your games that you run, Matt, that a lot of guys and girls and Bodies of Water come from the States. So I mean that's one that will spread across it, especially in the new world that we have now is time differences. You know, that's
one that can go throughout, I think, like
exactly,
time differences.
Yeah. At some point you're going to get a fatigue of like, I can't, it's quite hard. Even me being 2 hours behind can be a bit difficult for us sometimes. But 6 to 8 hours, that's a real big jump.
As they're actually getting ready to go, you've been up for most of your day.
So I think that's probably what made me do it. I just left and didn't say a word though. I just ghosted out of it like a cruel lover. I just was like, and the story was okay-ish, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't really know these guys. I just ghosted. Don't ghost your demons. I know I made a demon. I made a demon.
That's a good yes. Please don't ghost your DM.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't.
So let's go from right at the beginning then. Let's go from you have. Let's say you're on Roll20 or something. A lot of things happen online now. So let's say you're on Roll20 or something like that. You get in a game, and you've set up a game and whatever, you're getting it ready. Why might people leave? Very quickly.
Character yet?
Because I said,
are we playing?
If you haven't started a character yet, see my horror stories.
This is pre. I would say this is pre the start. So maybe around a session 0.
Okay. So on that basis,
or even before that,
see my horror story about being left in the dark. About everything. I think the best thing to do, especially in this new age where everyone's playing online, so you don't know the people you'll be playing with. Because generally you would know a majority of your campaign group before you start a campaign in the old way. Online, especially on Roll20, you're probably not going to know a lot of them. Soon no one understands the system until you know otherwise. Because otherwise it's very easy to have that person feel left out if they don't know what's going on, because 3 or 4 others around the group, or if it's put on the side, are not even experts but are just familiar enough that they don't need that helping hand, that you then have the problem of they feel bad for asking a million questions because nobody else is. And they feel like they're wasting people's time because the campaign's not running because they're the problem, or they feel like they're not getting the help they need for effectively the same reason. They have a lot of questions and the campaign grinds to halt because of it. So the easy solution is to understand at the start, when you start the campaign up, before you do anything else, ask people a question: who's played before? How familiar are people with stuff? How used to you are you with things? How much help does someone need? Because if someone goes, I've never played before, maybe try and arrange something ahead of time with them. Like, hey, let's just me and you get together and sort something out, or something to that effect, and then the solution to that one.
A lot of the time on Roll20, people will say, I am brand new to the game. But if they don't, it's a good idea to ask people beforehand, exactly how familiar they are, how many times they've played before. If it's never, then obviously take that into account. So that is definitely one reason. Someone might be just unfamiliar with it, and it might be overwhelming. Or because they're unfamiliar with it, people are not very accommodating. Again, see RPG horror stories. So particularly online, I think there's another factor which you may not click with the other people in the group.
This is what I was going to say. My one was going to be vibes. So
I've left 2 games pre-session 1 because I'm I don't think I necessarily click with you.
I've left a game before.
I'll be honest, I generally don't play games with strangers. Because it's that vibe is such a hard thing to find. And because of what I do for a living and times I have available to me, especially now with a little one, I don't have that time to sit there and try and find that vibe of people I don't know. So I will default to people that I do know, that I know I can play with, because it just makes my life easier.
I will say, as a DM, this is easier because you can curate the group. As a player, this is difficult. As a player, I've left 2 games because either because like there's strange vibes in the group. Whenever people are like, I don't want anyone to be this. There's a weird thing against the tabaxi, the cat race, like Ender is, if you're not familiar. People are like, I don't want anyone to be a tabaxi, and it's a player saying that, and people are willing to accommodate. And I'm thinking, like,
I wonder
why,
if that's
though?
a weird knock-on effect from Skyrim and people playing tabaxi as Khajiit, and maybe people are just tired of hearing that sort of very over-the-top type of delivery of lines, maybe.
Well, why don't they say, please don't do tired over the top accents?
It feels like a lazy shorthand.
And why do we let people? Why do we let Dwarven Scottish go?
Yeah, I know. I don't mean
that's been going a lot longer than.
I think there's something else with tabaxi.
Yeah,
I think it's like the furry stuff. I think that's potentially
that's
why.
where I was going.
Yeah,
because my mind is a cesspit.
fair point.
But I think there may be too many horror stories around tabaxi. I don't know. Potentially. I have no problem.
Game breakers?
Not really. I wouldn't say they're that mechanically broken. They're just. I think it's probably right. It's probably more the outside influences of other things like furry. Are.
And there's a big influence of that in D&D at the moment.
Yeah, and this is why I left my 1 game. I know we're like assuming no glazed donuts, but I saw a glazed donut coming. This is going to this is going to be a fuck fest.
I mean,
because a lot of the times on Roll20, you kind of got to apply, haven't you?
Yeah,
you've got to apply. Here's what my character's going to look like. This is his backstory, so the DM can curate a group. Yeah, he can vibe check. And I was going like the DM looked like he put together a stellar story. I was like really interested in it, and I think you could see who was already in the group from the applications. It was like they were passed or something like that. And like at least 2 of them, I'm like, you're going to try and fuck me. You're going to try and fuck me, and you're going to try and fuck everyone else. And while that may be funny once or twice.
For an entire campaign.
Like I will try and
you've done it with
I fuck every campaign, but I don't always fuck.
It's like the first thing you do, and then
I'll do it once. I'll do it once, try and make a critical on it, and then we'll all have a jolly old good laugh, and then we'll get down to
actual playing,
RPGing.
Generally, you'll do it in the early doors of the campaign, and then it's out of the way, and then we get on.
Yeah, and you won't spend 20 minutes on it.
No, it will be. I want to do this.
I want a critical role, making this woman's day, like speaking in tongues, and then I'll go off and fight demons.
Then I'll actually get down to the rock play.
Yeah. So and I've done it in this campaign because they kept throwing me whores. However,
that was intentional on that part.
I won't be like, oh, you've got some downtime. What do you want to do? I want to fuck everything. I want to fuck everything. And I could see that this was coming. Pun intended. This was coming. I was like, this is either a young teen or someone who is not getting any, and it's gonna or both, and it's just gonna be like, I'm gonna live my vicarious fantasies through this. I can see the donut coming, unintended. I was like, nah. I was so disappointed as well, because like the story, the background, this DM had put a lot of effort into this. I'm like, this looks fucking dope. But this character is going to fuck. It's going to fuck it up and fuck everything else. I'm like, nah,
I'm out.
That's a shame.
Okay.
So vibe check. Vibe checking. I don't feel good with this.
Yeah. So that's the reason I left. Well, that's part of the reason why I left these 2, was because they were being weirdly restrictive on the races you could be, and there was just weird stuff happening back and forth between some of the people in the group, and there were big groups as well, and I was a bit like, nah, I'm going to be sort of limited on how much time. The second one, though, the DM, they put a DM in, and the dude had never DM'd before and he had nothing prepared.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be doing a game like the next week. And I went, oh no, this is going to be a disaster.
I'm going to be sat like it's thumb for 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the train wreck coming. And I'm like, and I reached out to the guy and I was like, look, if you need help with anything, if you want help with anything, like, no pressure, but I'll give you a hand if you want. And I think that was taken the wrong way. And I was like, I was very reassuring. I'm like, I'm not trying to step on your toes. I don't want you to tell me anything that's happening in the campaign. But if there's a mechanical thing, just ask. Well, it's fine. And then that kind of smoothed it over, but it got no better. Like it was like a few days later, and it's like, no, I still don't have anything. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm just gonna.
I'm out. See ya.
Yeah. I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, it's tricky because I'm when I DM, I'm generally someone who doesn't have everything planned out.
Yeah, but
also true. But even in my early, I didn't generally have everything planned out because I didn't like to feel like I was railroading myself in the way I would tell a story.
Yeah,
but I would say my difference is that I know the beats I want to hit. Like I know the story I want to tell, or at least the story I'm putting together. That the players will then inform how it's told.
Yeah.
So if I will know that I want this to happen, I want this to happen, I want this to happen, and then I will let it build around how the players interact. If you've got legit nothing, that's different. But I think sometimes there's this emphasis that you have that these DMs, and this isn't a set of who want that. It's also people who come from certain backgrounds. I think things like Critical Role have a big impact on this, where they expect every campaign is going to be this massive epic where you're going to go from a nobody to the hero of the realm, and it's going to be epic and told. And I think at the same time, for people who also might leave games because of this, set your expectations. You are not being DM'd by Matt Mercer. You are not joining the cast of Critical Role or any of the big YouTubers who do D&D. You're on Roll20, which means you're dealing with real normal people. Yeah, sure, some people get paid to DM on there. There's professionals in that regard, but they are not Wizards of the Coast professionals. They are not people who've done this for massive audiences. You need to understand that you're not going to get this massive production value story. And you can tell great stories without all of that. But I think people come into it with a mindset that they're going to have this epic adventure told by a top-class storyteller. Like, people tell stories differently. You need to be cool with that.
However, if you do want an expert run DM, you can reach out to any one of us and we will blow your minds.
True.
Maybe you can do it now when it's available.
Shut up, Carl. Shut up, Carl.
I get to annoy you face to face. It's an amazing thing.
I can't say anything because I'm drinking his lovely scotch.
Oh, the scotch is hot.
It used to be easier. It used to be easier making games. It's a whale. Big, stupid whale.
Anyway, moving on.
What was one more thing? Again, this is a vibe check. So I used to go to an RPG club pre-COVID days. I'd go to sort of like the next town over. Brilliant. I think they do it all on Discord now, so I could probably join them again. Like really, really cool. Like they had loads of experienced DMs in there. Like they'd run 8-week campaigns, and then like they'd run a long block and a short block. Brilliant. I played loads of systems there, from like Call of Cthulhu, did loads of different ones. Like the Star Wars one, a guy made Mass Effect out of the Star Wars one. Like remains in my head to this day. It was brilliant. But there were some people I just really didn't like. Some people. And if I'd get paired with them, I'd have to be like, can I just go to another one? You know? Like,
was it in particular in that way? Or just a vibe about them? Or just
I just like, just sometimes you don't get many people.
Fair enough.
And like this is like their area of sort of expertise and like mastery.
Yeah.
And it just sort of boils over and becomes a bit alpha-y, like alpha male-y in like the oddest place to do that. You know? Like in the complete opposite place to do that. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm an alpha male. I think alpha male and beta males and all this is bullshit. It's all nonsense. But you get this macho-ness in this very
Nerdy
odd space.
It's the
bizarre.
expertise, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like we do this. We do the actually.
Yeah.
Like it's that.
Yeah.
It's that vibe, and you don't want that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I will leave. Have just
Better
really,
vibe.
it will be vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that early, generally, that's most of why people are going to leave.
Yeah.
That early. If you've not played, vibe will probably be one of the biggest reasons you're gone, because there'll just be, again, like something will just feel off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You either look at this, you'll look at the people playing it, you look at the DM thing. This is going to be a train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work with me. Or even if it's not a train wreck, you're just going to
I'm not sure I'm feeling
I
this.
don't want to have an orgy for 2 hours.
Yeah.
In my mind every week.
Yeah.
I prefer to do that in my own quiet.
Do it in real life.
Yeah. Or in real life, Matt. Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's I think we can kind of move on to the next sort of time block there, a few sessions in. Because I think sometimes this stuff only emerges after a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think,
and you realise.
If you have been in the space for a while and you've played a few systems and things like that, you're going to know what you like and what you don't like in terms of the game. So someone's going to show you what the story looks like, what the background looks like. You're instantly going to know what you like. You're going to know the systems, and you're like, oh, maybe that, or just like, typing up and everything. Like, if you're fresh in, then all of this could be a reason that you might leave, But otherwise, I think it's just going to be a vibe thing.
Yeah,
because everything else has been ticked off, and then you're like, something don't feel right.
Yeah, and if you're a bit of an experienced player, you've had a few campaigns, even if you've not completed anything, if you've played a few times, you'll look at stuff and you'll look at the players and stuff, and you go, this isn't going to be for me. I think you'll just know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of other reasons for leaving that early on are new player woes, which aren't necessarily vibe related. They're going to be unfamiliarity and stuff like that. So I think the majority of people who leave early doors are either new players who've never played it before and are just overwhelmed, or people who played a bit and just don't. I just don't like. I'm not going to feel. I already don't feel this, and just don't pick it up at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's things like something could happen. I mean, I don't know if something could happen that drastically that early on, but it is potentially a thing. The other is like things where it's no one's fault. So people's schedules change. People's work schedules change all the time, particularly now, where a lot of stuff is online. Life happens. Like things just don't.
I have a kid now.
Right.
That changes my schedule pretty dramatically. So for me, I would have to look at games where that's going to work, and that if I have to drop out suddenly because they're unsettled or they're not doing it, it has to work for me. If it doesn't, I'm like, well, if it's not going to work for you guys, because that's my circumstances, so I guess I'll see you later then.
And if you could grow your child up as quickly as possible, because I want to have Brax's war scene. Can you just grow it up?
No. We can work around that. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brax's war happens.
Well, it's in a face-to-face game or a game where you know the other players and the DM, and in a smaller game, like a schedule change or a big life change is easy to take into account, because it's like we're going to accommodate. In this example, we're going to accommodate you as much as possible. But if we didn't know each other at all, it might be a case of like, well, it'd be easier to just find someone else.
Yeah.
And that's an easier option. And like as bad as that is, as annoying as that is, as culturally telling maybe as that is considered a far easier option for a lot of people than, well, let's try and make it work.
I think also that thing is it's not just when it comes to the whole culture thing with that, you remember that other people want to have fun as well. So sometimes it's not every person or a vindictive thing. It's just that you are the reason things aren't working right now is that you're the one that's not available, and it's not personal. It's just that hey, everybody else's time availability is when you're never going to be available.
And really, the quicker it happens, the better.
Yeah.
If it happens in the first couple, there's no real investment into it.
Yeah.
But if you're before, a war for Mir, for example, then some players might get a bit annoyed about other people coming into your life
Don't make me bring up the system. I will go back to the well. I will go back to the well.
Yeah, well, early on as well, like you've got the people who, I mean, presumably, particularly on Roll20, you've got the people who would have been interested and applying, and you can go, hey, are you still available?
Yeah,
yes,
come
on in.
Yeah. That was going to be so tasty. It is. It's going to be so good.
It's going to be so good.
So good.
So many heads are going to roll.
Mm-hmm.
So many things.
Have we told you that there's going to be a war soon, ladies and gentlemen?
Stay tuned for that.
Okay, couple of sessions in.
Yep. I think vibe check again.
Vibe happens for a while.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's a general. I mean, some of it is going to repeat. I think the vibe stuff is going to repeat.
Yeah.
Schedules are going to repeat.
Life shit will repeat.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that you may not have noticed will become very clear.
Yeah.
After a couple of sessions.
Again,
like the DM not knowing what they're doing.
The stuff that will repeat throughout this entire conversation is the stuff that isn't inherently related to the game you're playing itself.
No.
But the people or how it's being run. That will run throughout because that, and it might be something that doesn't happen at the start.
No.
It might happen 2 or 3 sessions in, or 10 or 12 hours into a campaign where suddenly someone's mentality changes or their character shifts because well, I'm in now. I've been here a while. Let's do what I want to do, or let's try this out, and that will repeat. So take vibe check and just apply it to every section.
All parts.
People may not like the system. I mean, if you're playing something that's not D&D, for example, D&D's quite popular and
D&D
fairly well known.
Is ubiquitous enough that everyone knows D&D. So even if you've never played it before, you'll at least understand the concept of how stuff works with the rolling of dice. So
and you can watch a video or two and be like, okay, I think I'm roughly prepared.
Again, see my comment on Critical Role. The reason most people are getting into D&D as it is now is because Critical Role has taken off like crazy. So
I don't think Critical Role is a good thing to watch.
No, I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying it's probably the most common thing you will find for people who've never played it before who wants to try it, is that they've seen Critical Role once or twice and want to try it themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, I mean,
Critical Role is not necessarily the best training tool or best thing to watch if you've never played.
I would say it's among the worst. I think it's among the worst training tools. Yeah. So if you've never played it before,
for entertainment, it's absolutely good. But for learning how, no.
For entertainment as well, it depends.
That's a preference thing. Ultimately.
Like I'm not they're great.
I don't watch it.
Well, like the Ox Venture, I would say is the perfect. I think we've mentioned the Ox Venture before.
We have before.
Because their first session, they are all brand new to the game.
Yeah.
And the DM is kind of brand new to the game.
Johnny in that one had DM'd a lot before, and
he had played 4 sessions before of D&D.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of later on. Yeah, and he played a lot more stuff. You're right.
Yeah. And none of them had done it before at all.
Yeah, it was all brand new.
Yeah. And even like a later one, I mean, the latest one now, like there's a Geeks and Gamers one that's just started where a bunch of them are brand new to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, check them out as well. But I mean, it's it's not the easy videos.
I would say Ox Venture in that give a truer reflection of what most D&D sessions are going to be.
Yes.
Rather than again, like the high production value that goes into Critical Role does skew the way it's played a little bit. But that's
it's like
preference.
The Ox Venture is all theatre of the mind. Or most of it's theatre of the mind. There's no map.
I don't think they've ever had physical maps or fit on the models. That I can remember. It's always been theatre of the mind.
All right. Well, let's go forward a bit more in time, because I think a lot of the stuff early on repeats.
I think pre-game and early sessions are probably going to be more or less the same sort of things.
I think the only things that change in the first few sessions is that either you haven't managed. The expectations haven't been managed. So it's going to be one way. It's like, oh,
it's actually
this isn't this. So if I got into that game that looked brilliant, and either it went down a completely different path, or DM hadn't planned it out, or someone railroaded us into an orgy for 2 hours, this thing would happen. Or you thought you liked a system and you didn't.
Yeah.
So expectations haven't been managed like externally, or you've had an idea of what something's going to look like and it's not like that. And you're like, well, I'll cut my ties now.
Yeah. But again, like before, the earlier that happens sometimes is better because it minimizes impact on everybody else who wants to continue playing it. So,
but yeah, I think that would be it. Really.
Right.